What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gooner channel, and it's the eve of the big one. I mean, I know I say that before every single game, but tomorrow really is a must-win game. Arsenal will take on Aston Villa at home for a chance to go back on top of the league. Manchester City today blew away Luton, made a couple of changes, Doku on fire, Kevin De Bruyne back in, but we knew they were going to do that at this stage of the season. They gave a really good account of themselves away to Real Madrid, and they look poised to go through. You'd have to make them favourites, and so they await us should we be able to get past Bayern on Wednesday. But of course, before that, we have this game against Aston Villa. And I think it's Arteta's biggest decision, because how do you set up for this game? In the last couple of days, all of the rumours and gossip have been around the fact that Gabriel Magalhaes is not going to be starting. He's not fit. He's been carrying an injury for a little while, and it looks like it might rule him out. So we are going to need to make changes. And I think it's fair to say that for all the plaudits that William Saliba gets, Gabriel has been our best defender. So are there shades of this time last year where we lost Saliba and weren't quite ourselves? Other than that, we're looking pretty good. We don't have any other major injuries, but that's not the whole story either. Of course, a lot of these players are not going to be 100%. They have been playing a lot of games, and we do have to keep one eye on that Bayern game. There is a cautionary tale. Bayern today strolled past FC Köln in a meaningless Bundesliga game, but lost Kingsley Coman. So it is likely that on Wednesday when we face them, they will be certainly without Serge Gnabry, who has a hamstring injury. Leroy Sané is a big if, and Kingsley Coman may miss the rest of the season. They did bring back Pavlovic. They are looking like they're going to be able to play Thomas Müller. Harry Kane, of course, will start. We are likely to be up against a very strong Bayern team, even with these injuries. And right after tomorrow's game, we're going to be travelling. So you need to be keeping one eye on that game. Of course, Arteta and all managers always say they're taking one game at a time. And if that's the case, then Arteta will put out his strongest team tomorrow. But what if we do that and face the same sort of problems that Bayern faced and lose one or two key players? Declan Rice, Odegaard and Saliba would be three players that we couldn't really afford to miss for the run-in. It is worth saying that Aston Villa are in no kind of form. In their last 5 league games, they've conceded 12 and scored 7. They've lost 2, drawn 2 and won only once, and that was at home to Wolves. But this is the Premier League, and any team on their day is worth worrying about. Again, shades of last season, where around this time of the season we played Southampton at home. And that was a team that got relegated and shouldn't have been any trouble for us at all. But we shipped 3 goals and only just came back to get a draw. A draw in the game against Aston Villa is going to be a real problem, because just before us, Liverpool kick off against Palace. Now, of course, everybody's talking about how they fell apart to Atalanta at home, losing for the first time in 30-something games. Is this a sign of their wobble? Are they falling apart? Despite everyone telling us that these are players who've won the league before, of course, most of them haven't. And Darwin Núñez is coming under increasing criticism for his inability to capitalise on goal-scoring chances. Luis Diaz is hardly a prolific goal-scorer, and if Salah's not on it, they struggle to get goals. Perhaps we go into the game tomorrow not third, as is most likely if Liverpool beat Palace, but second. But it really doesn't matter if we're second or third if we are points behind Manchester City, because with them starting to purr, with them starting to show the form they always show at this time of year, it's vital that we keep this title in our own hands, where it is right now. If we beat Villa, then after that we have the game against Bayern and then the game away very soon after it to Wolves, which is another one of those games it's very hard to say we're definitely going to win, even though really Wolves aren't in great form either. The decision that Arteta therefore has to make is, does he start his strongest team? Assuming that Gabriel is out, you would expect that to be David Raya in goal. But who plays at left back? We saw Zinchenko come on in the second half against Bayern and really address the problem we were having in controlling the midfield. Because Zinchenko can leave you vulnerable to counter-attack. With Moussa Diaby, Leon Bailey and Ollie Watkins almost certainly going to be trying to pounce on any counter-attacking long ball opportunities they can running into space behind. Is Zinchenko your best choice? It's difficult for me to see how you would bring Tomiyasu in here, given that he just really hasn't played any matches. But is he arguably a better choice at left back? Is he going to be more defensively solid, is the question. Do we need Zinchenko in the midfield? I would guess that we probably are going to start with Zinchenko, because I really feel that going into this game, Aston Villa are going to do what they've done in the last 5 league games. And even though they beat Lille on Thursday night, which is another issue, by the way, they have had far less time to prepare. Playing against Lille on Thursday night, they would have had a very light training session on Friday, perhaps another light training session today, and be coming into the match without 2 of their midfield mainstays in Kamara and Luis Diaz, who stupidly got himself suspended for this match. Or was he getting himself suspended so he wouldn't have to play against us, leaving himself open to a transfer in summer? I'm being silly now. I'm sure he didn't. But you can't look past the fact that they are not playing their strongest team at the moment and they're not particularly in good form. I would suggest that Kiwior makes most sense at that left-sided centre-back position if Gabriel isn't fit. And I know that people have been saying that, he was to blame for the 2 goals that we gave away to Bayern, and he was. So is his confidence shot? Should he be dropped just in case? Well, I don't know if that makes sense. I think you play him through a bad game and you give him a chance straight away to redeem himself. Saliba certainly starts alongside him, and Ben White is right back. But is there an argument for playing Tomiyasu on the right so that Ben White can be fully fit? After all, we do this to Ben White. He's played 100 of the 106 games that he's been able to play since we signed him. And you can be over-reliant on these players. They can become tired. We are going to have to travel to Munich tomorrow. That's travelling again. And is it going to be better to have a fresh Ben White? We'll certainly need him, even without Bayern having some of their better wing players. In the middle, we have a decision to make. Jorginho, who has been playing well, wasn't particularly strong against Bayern, but do you bring in Thomas Partey, who is still not quite fit? It was a great ball from him that led to Saka going through on goal and being clipped by Manuel Neuer. He has that in his game. Maybe this is the game you put him in, and hopefully you can get to a good early lead and then perhaps rotate Jorginho in so neither of them has to play too many minutes. Or do you start with Jorginho and get this job done? After all, look, the Champions League, and I hate to say it, but the Champions League is a cup competition. You don't want to give away ground in the Premier League because you might not get it back. But you could conceivably go to Bayern and put on a defensive rearguard action with a couple of your lesser players. I don't know what Arteta's going to choose. Personally speaking, I'd be playing Thomas Partey in this game. Ahead of him, Declan Rice, who's another player that just has to play all the time. He will be playing at the Allianz. I think he'll play tomorrow. But is there a case to say, look, Emil Smith-Rowe did well when he came on, man of the match performance after all. Should we maybe think about starting him instead of Declan Rice, have Declan Rice on the bench if we need him? This midfield we're up against isn't as strong as you would expect at this stage of the season. Aston Villa may do what they did when they went to Manchester City and hold players back for what is arguably a bigger game for them against Lille. But I think Arteta will put Declan Rice in because even though he's been better at rotating this season, he likes to stick with his best players. And then Odegaard is a captain and I think he has to start. But the front three, that's another interesting area. Martinelli, who was quite ineffective, albeit mocked as he was by Joshua Kimmich. I think just like the Bayern game where they came and surprised me by sitting back in the way they did and ceding possession. We know that Aston Villa are going to do that. So is that part of the field going to be condensed again? And he hasn't been drifting inside as much. So perhaps this isn't the game for Martinelli. Perhaps you keep him fresh for the Bayern game. Maybe starting Trossard on the left, who does drift inside better and is, I would say, our best finisher at the moment. And Bukayo Saka, another one of those players who has to play every single match. I don't see Reiss Nelson coming in for this game. I think Saka's going to be hugely important against Bayern, but I think he's going to be hugely important against Villa as well. And up front, Kai Havertz, who has kind of made that position his own. But is there an argument to say maybe Jesus comes in, either for Saka on the right, or for Trossard or Martinelli on the left, or perhaps Kai Havertz? Maybe you do drop Kai Havertz back. And then you could arguably rest Declan Rice or play Declan Rice instead of Thomas Partey. I think we will beat this Villa team tomorrow, but I feel like this is a really good chance for us to see if we have made the necessary progress to become champions, because this is going to be a nervy game, particularly if Liverpool do get a win over Palace. There is absolutely no margin of error here. Anything but a win sees us cede ground and the league title challenge is out of our hands. At the moment, it's so important that we control our destiny. You don't want to be relying on Manchester City to drop points. Liverpool might well do. Manchester City might well do. After all, they do concede all the time now. Even against Luton, where it was a demolition job, but they still conceded a goal. Against a team that aren't quite as fragile as Luton at the moment in conceding goals, maybe Man City would only get a draw of 1 or 2 of their remaining games. But a defeat against Villa, I think, starts the alarm bells ringing everywhere, and we'll have to put up with calls of bottlers from teams that have nothing else to play for. Tottenham fans will be cheering Aston Villa tomorrow. That's how ridiculous it is being a Tottenham fan. They have so little to play for that they actually hope they don't finish in the top 4, and as long as we don't win the league, they'll be happy. I hope I'm never in that situation as a fan. I am not as confident as I wish I was going into this match. I think that Aston Villa, despite their injuries and despite their absences, are going to put up a fight against us. I don't see them being easy to brush aside as they were when they visited the Etihad. Perhaps it will be a narrow win for us, and that doesn't make any difference to me whatsoever. But unlike Bayern, I want to see us get through this match without injuries. I want to make sure that we're ready for that game on Wednesday. But if I'm totally honest with you, out of the 2 competitions, if it means sacrificing the Champions League to win the Premier League, if it means putting out our best team tomorrow and just hoping that it goes well enough, that we can get the job done early and rest players like we've been doing so much of this year, that's what I would be doing. I think the biggest decision Arteta has is, does he risk it? Does he throw on a second string side, maybe with a Fabio Vieira in it, maybe with a Reece Nelson in it? If he does that and we don't win, the pressure really starts to come on. If he puts out his best team and we win it narrowly, but then we fall apart in Munich on Wednesday, the pressure probably won't be as bad, but how many chances do you get to make the semi-final of the Champions League and then face a team you've already taken 4 points off this season, or a Real Madrid side? It'd be a mouth-watering semi-final, whatever happens. And whoever awaits in the final is not going to be as strong as either of those 2 teams, you would say. And in a one-off game, this Arsenal team, I think we could win silverware. I guess if everything does go wrong tomorrow, we still have Wednesday to look forward to. But this could be a nightmare week as well. I'm going to stay upbeat and positive and say that I think we will beat Villa 2 or 3-0. But even as I say that, I still see an Ollie Watkins goal or a Moussa Diaby long-range effort. And of course, Martinez in goal is not always easy to beat, as recent results would suggest. He's got something to prove as well. It's going to be a scrappy game. It's going to be a close game. Unai Emery returns to the Emirates. On the one hand, desperate to protect his chance of winning European silverware, which is what he's built his career around. And on the other hand, gunning for a top 4 position, because after the performances in midweek in Europe, English sides have not done that well. And it's likely that we're not going to have top 5 places for the European Champions League next season. Tottenham and Aston Villa really are fighting it out for that top 4 spot. Let me know in the comments how you feel. Let me know your score predictions. Like I said, I'm going to go for 3-1. 3-1 to Arsenal. Job done. Hopefully we get the job done by the 70th minute. We can start rotating some players in. Perhaps an Emil Smith-Rowe and Nketiah comes off the bench and does the business. I think this is a game for Trossard rather than Martinelli, so he'll be fresh for the game on Wednesday, where I really do think Bayern will have to push on to us and finally allow some of that space. But every game's nervy at the moment. Every game's a cup final. And really, I have to keep reminding myself, that's how we wanted it. That's what we wanted, isn't it? Last season, when people told us we weren't going to compete again, how wrong they were. Kai Havertz, hat-trick. Maybe Jesus shows some more of that amazing footwork he did against Bayern Munich. But whatever happens, let's keep the faith. I want to hear from you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then get involved. And look, just before I go, I want to say a massive thank you to the subscribers and the people who leave comments. It means so much to me. Hit a like on this video, and until I see you after the game tomorrow, be lucky. Lots of love.